There are very, very few rap collectives that are as successful and as notable as HP Boyz. Exploded onto the scene around 2019. They have had great success over the last 4 years or so, so I feel like it's a good time to kind of celebrate what they've done so far and go for a tier list of their entire catalog as of March 2023. So, yeah, without further ado, let's go.
On the mark, no chill. I wanna be like Marvel Schofield.
We start off with Blueprint. This was their explosion onto the scene early doors. This is gonna come up a lot in this tier list, but this track established what I'm going to call the HP Boyz formula, or the HP formula as we'll call it. All right. Listen, as much as nostalgia wants me to gas this song, it's an okay track. Average verses, kind of boring production now that I look back at it, to be honest, and it really highlights how far these boys have come, because there's, you know, there's rappers like YJ here that have come so far since. Doesn't sound great looking back at it, but you know, it's a nice hook. It still captures a really good vibe. I just think compared to the stuff they have nowadays, it's nowhere near the standard and quality they're at, and it just really highlights how far they've come. I'm going to put Blueprint in the C tier.
Hey, can I make one thing clear? If you was in the trap, brother, how were you here?
Engineers, another huge hit. And despite on it looking like he belongs in the Super Mario Brothers, I would say this is an improvement on that formula that I'm talking about. I would say I prefer the production. I still think it's a good hook. I still think it's solid verses. Like, all round, it's a good track, and I definitely prefer this to Blueprint. I'm going to throw this in the B tier.
What do you know about Bad and Booge? What do you know about Squeeze? Splash that.
Bad and Booge. Another great song, in my opinion. I really like what M-Ways does with this hook. I think he sets out a really nice framework for the boys to then go ahead with their verses. I would also like to note, just again, solid production on this one. I like the vocal hit behind the lead piano melody. That's a really nice touch. I would also say that they have improved a slight bit here. You could just hear better cadence, slightly more clear, better clarity. Yeah, the boys are getting a little bit better here. Yeah, still a good track, still a long way to go, but again, I'm going to throw this B tier.
You see my brothers yet? We making moves. Now there is no evidence, now there is no clue.
Moves. First track that they dropped without a music video, to my knowledge anyway, that's still left up. This is where that formula starts to become stale to me. It doesn't, you know, sometimes that formula lands, sometimes it doesn't. And at this point, I don't know, just listening in order of the tracks, I feel like it's the weakest of their releases so far at this point. It starts to get stale. It's not as innovative, which isn't a bad thing, but it just doesn't feel new. It doesn't feel like it brings anything to the table that the previous 3 releases hasn't. So, or hasn't, I don't know. Either way, Moves, not the biggest fan of it. I'm going to throw it in D tier.
Yeah, they doubted us and now they see us winning. Ay, yeah, they hated us and chat like dirty women.
Now we get into their debut EP release in 6 to the World, and we start off with the intro track, Enemies. I would like to note that they get a little bit more creative with their flows in this track. I really like the energy. Yeah, it's a solid entry to the EP. It's a really good way to start it. However, it's not the most memorable track. Like, I've forgotten about it until I listened to it. And for that reason, I don't know why I haven't gone back to it. Again, it's not a bad track in any way, shape, or form. It's just, yeah, it's all right. I'm going to throw it in a C tier.
We ain't gotta do too much. No, we ain't gotta do too much. We
Out here. This is amazing. This track is my personal favorite out of their entire catalog. What KEZIAH FETERIKA does on this track is lay out an amazing framework for the boys to go and tell their story on this track. Be stylish, be steezy, be confident. the production is also the first jump that they've made away from that formula. You get what I'm saying? I really like what they did with this track. I love the video, even though KEZIAH does look like she's gonna fall off that bike any second. I just really like what they do. The video's great, amazing flavor, chilled banger vibes. Like, yeah, Out Here is, to me, my personal favorite, and I think it is one of their best. I put this in the S tier.
My G's are out here to collect all these junkies owing on deck.
We have Get to the Bag. This is a track that doesn't do what Out Here does. This does feel back to the generic HP formula, and it doesn't even feel like a good version of it. Again, if I compare it to Blueprint and Engineers and Bad and Bouge, etc., it just doesn't add up. I don't think it sounds that great. I think it sounds super generic. I don't think they tried too hard on this. And I feel like they could have been way more ambitious. It feels like them trying to play it safe, and in doing so, it ends up falling really flat, in my opinion. I'm going to put this in the D tier.
I was out with the gang, all seasons, make a deal to keep breathing, doing laps in the area.
We bounce back to EENY MEENY. I just want to say now that I think the boys absolutely nailed their choices for music videos for the singles of this EP. I feel like they've highlighted the best tracks by far. EENY MEENY is one of them. It is an amazing track. On it, goes crazy on this track. I really like his verse. The melodic part goes crazy. The whoa, yeah, no, let me step on my throne, nah. Like that whole bit there is just so nice. EENY MEENY is vibes, high energy, just, yeah. This is the version of Hp Boyz I really like, and I think they do it very well. I'm gonna throw this in the A tier.
I got G's in the trap, I got G's on the road.
Next track is Block Party. Block Party is that HP formula, and it's done okay. It's got a nice guitar lead melody. It's got good verses. Like, it's an okay track. It's nothing special. Definitely had worse, definitely had better. Run-of-the-mill HP track, C tier.
Fresh off the international, first tour like the shit was natural.
And now we end on the final track of the EP, the self-titled track, 6 to the World. I really like the track listing on this EP as well. I feel like starting off with Enemies was a really good intro, and I feel like 6 to the World is the perfect way to end it. So for a 6-track EP, I feel like they got the order correct. I think it's paced really well. I feel like I'll throw that in as a side note. As for this track individually, I really like that sample flip. That sample flip sets a very nice tone. YJ, I will dig Out Here. He has the same rhyme scheme as Out Here, which is a little bit lazy. It's a 6-track EP. We shouldn't be hearing the same rhyme schemes within the same project. The Early, Shirley, Dirty, we shouldn't be hearing the same rhyming words. You've only got 1 verse each, 6 verses. Come on, like I'm gonna dig you out there. But yeah, otherwise, outside of that, it's really nice vibes. I really like what the boys do with this one. I'm gonna throw it in the B tier. Oh man, I can't lie, I need a shit.
When I come through, I'ma bring HP.
I didn't know whether to include this one or not, but it's a Joel Fletcher and Hp Boyz track, so I am. And unfortunately for the boys, I think it's terrible. Big shout out Joel Fletcher. I think he's an amazing producer that can do a really good job with the hardstyle and the EDM and the house kind of drops. But this one just ain't it. And as for HP's involvement in it, on it's barely involved in this track. I don't like the verse on it. I don't know. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of kind of that lane of EDM music, so pinch of salt with my opinion on this. But for me, it's just... no, it's just not it. Trash. Which might seem a bit harsh since, as I said, it's not all of the boys on it. It's a minimal involvement, but you got it on your Spotify. You're labeled under it. So you know what? I've got to throw something in the trash. I've got to do something. Bit unfair, but T's and C's apply.
Take you to space, NASA. Mi casa, su casa. Orale la cha-cha.
Cha-cha. Hey, cha-cha. Listen, look, I really, really like the vibes on this track. And I like the energy of the track more than the actual track itself. I think, as a hot take, this is the most overrated HP track there is. Not that it's bad. It's not bad in any way, shape, or form, and it's still a vibe, and I'd still happily listen to it. But I don't think it's as good as people say it is. I think that there's some lazy writing in here. I feel like it feels a little bit rushed in some way, shape, or form. I can't explain how, but I don't know, it just isn't as good as I think people say it is. But by all means, it's not a bad track, and as I said, I really do like the vibes and energies on this, so I will throw it in the C tier.
Make them more like rumors. They don't do this, acting foolish.
Moonboy here decided to have a dick swinging contest with the entire industry. This video is amazing. I love everything about this music video. As for the song itself, this feels like the next level up within HP Boyz' catalog. This feels like the next step forward where they go, okay, let's up the levels one more time. YJ starts to come into his own from this point forward, in my opinion. This is when he starts to go crazy. Like, he goes crazy on this. EENY is solid on this as well. This is a really, really sick track. I really like this top to bottom. Yeah, I'm going to throw this in the A tier because I really do think it is that good.
Why you lying? You're not a friend of mine.
We get into the 2-pack that is the After Party EP, and we come in with M1 here. I can't tell you why, but I don't like it. The energy almost feels like the vocal delivery is too high energy for what the track actually is. And I don't even know if that makes sense, but it just feels like they're going a little bit too overboard. I don't know. It feels sloppy. Yeah. I don't know. Something's just off about this track. I'm not the biggest fan. I barely remember it. D tier.
I could do old school if I want to. I ain't out, been living it, laying low, chilling it.
Then the second part of this 2-pack being free throws is much, much better. It brings this noughties kind of hip-hop flavor that improves upon that HP formula. I keep coming back to it. This is similar to, you know, what they bring to the table over the years. Cold hook, solid verses by all of the boys here. Like, yeah, it is a solid track. I actually much prefer free throws to M1. I'll throw it in the B tier.
Let me spin that out, put him inside out.
Then we move into 100 Club. This is the third stage of improvement by HP, where you see the shift and the change. Obviously, this is where they've dropped M-Ways from music in the meantime. And there just seems to be a level up in the quality, not only in the videos like you would get in Rumors, but also just from the boys themselves. On it and YJ go back to back here, and out of the entire HP catalog, it's the first time that it really properly happens. Like I said, out here as a back-to-back verse, but like to go line for line or bar for bar, should you say, that doesn't happen very often with these boys, and it's the first time we see it, and I really, really appreciate it. It's where they really allow their chemistry to start showing. I quite like this track. I really like the video. I like it more than I thought I did. You know, just listening to it again for this video, I was really, really impressed. And for that reason, again, this is another hot take. I'm throwing it up in the A tier because I actually think this is their most underrated song, in my opinion.
Yeah, I pull up in the 4K straight from the 6. You know I do it all day, empty that clip.
Roll like that. Another one that, should I put in this list? Should I not? Again, it's classified as LISI and HP Boyz, even though it's just on it. But we'll throw it in there. This track is an S tier track for me, but it's an S tier track because LISI carries a hefty load in this track, not only with the hook, but also I feel like his verse is just stronger than on it. So for the sake of it being the HP tier list, I will put it in A tier. This is an amazing, again, Moonboy just on a dick swinging contest once again. And the next song we talk about is very much the same, but this one, yeah, it's a really good song. Strong production, amazing video, of course. And both these boys do an amazing job. Again, that back-to-back flavor in that third verse is really, really appreciated. Yeah, I like this. And as I said, it would be an S-tier track if it was LISI. Maybe, hint, hint, maybe we'll do that soon in the future. But for now, it being HP on it, it's still a solid job by him. But I'll put it in the A tier.
Shimmy like I'm Timmy Turner. Bonnie on me when I turn up.
Then we have Watch the Wick. This is the best version of what I'm talking about when it comes to that HP formula, that verse hook structure, the trappy type beats, normally with an interesting sample. This has a really, really interesting sample and flip and a really cool, unique sound and vibe with this. Everything about this track I really love. And I personally think this is also one of my favorites. I'd probably put this just behind Out Here, but I think it is up there in terms of just some of their best work, you know? I'd say Out Here is my favorite, and I'd say Watch the Wick is their best. And for that reason, I will put it in the S tier. And so there you go. There is the tier list. Quite an even and balanced out shape. But, and again, that Joel Fletcher FLACKO track is tough to put in there because, again, you could argue that that's not a Hp Boyz track. But like the same for Roll Like This. So I suppose I balanced it out in some way, shape, or form. HP really do set a very, very good standard for even when they're not at their best, it's still better than most. And when they get creative and when they do something slightly different, for me, I really, really appreciate it. And going forward, I want them to continue that HP formula. I want them to still do that. But I want them to also push the boundaries. Because when they push their boundaries, they really do shine. Not only in their visuals, but also with them as performers, as them as artists, as them as writers. You know, I feel like sometimes they can get lazy and they can say things that isn't really challenging their vocab, isn't really pushing themselves. And I feel like sometimes they can fall into that trap of just kind of getting away with their average. But when they try, I feel like you can just sense the difference. Maybe they do put 110% into everything they do, and maybe just some sticks and some doesn't for me personally. Of course, that can be a thing. I just have a sneaky feeling that you can tell when they care that little bit more about the track that they're working on and when they're kind of putting it out there to fill the gaps. For me, anyway, that's how I feel about it. But I don't know. Let me know how you feel about HP Boyz. Let me know what is your favorite track of theirs. What is your least favorite? Is there an underrated track of theirs? Is there an overrated? What changes would you make overall? If you want to do your own tier list and at them or at me, whatever, I'll leave a link for this down in the description. Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Big shout out to HP Boyz. Shout out to the whole team behind them. And yeah, stay hydrated. Do you feel like he just made that melody and just run out of lyrics to say? Or like, nah, I don't know, man. It's vibes though. It's vibes. There's no denying it's vibes.